So a couple weeks ago, I was talking to a dev who's trying to kind of like break out, right? They did a boot camp. They're excited about getting into the industry. They're using AI, and their biggest question they had for me was, how do I get my name out there and how do I help and like commit to open source? Because that was something they were passionate about and like loved about the world of coding in general. And I thought it was a really like it helped me, I guess, reflect on like what we did at 98 and then just like kind of my thoughts around it because, I think like the generic answer is go and commit to the Python code base, which in reality, it's like as a new person or even as a non Python expert, it's like you can't make any commits that are going to be any value to anybody on the Python code base. Whereas thinking about kind of what like me and Cameron have done, which is build solutions to our own problems and then share them, and then also build things that we just think is fun to build and then share them as open source is just like an amazing way to do it because it requires no one to review your PR and hopefully get it committed in. It just is you building and sharing what you're building, and because you're passionate about it, you're able to like build something and like you bring a unique view where that no one else has, where you can just build something that is unique and can be shared, and if it solves your problem, it's most likely solving somebody else's problem. And so like we've been talking about this, me and Cameron, and there's a bunch of things happening out in the dev world right now that kind of like align with this, and we thought it would just be like a good topic to go over. And so like one of the big things today, I think it was today that came out, is that, or I think it was yesterday maybe, but that Bun was bought by Anthropic, which is awesome, And I think, Cameron, you know a little bit more about the backstory behind Bun and kind of like what was talked about.
Yeah, it's really cool. I actually like kind of forgot about it. I remember seeing like the stuff of Bun in the early days, but then I didn't really, I mean, honestly, I didn't really understand some of it, and then I didn't really pay much attention until
Yeah.
recently. But yeah, I feel like Jared Sumner's like whole story of how he built Bun initially is like a perfect example of that, where he literally just built something that he needed and
Mm-hmm.
then got super obsessed with it, and with drive, just hard work and just really talented engineering, he ended up, exiting or getting acqui-hired by Anthropic, which is crazy. But yeah, I pulled from the Bun official blog post about them getting acquired by Anthropic, and I definitely like recommend it to anybody that's kind of curious about the whole story because it's actually really cool. But I saw this. I'm just gonna pull this up. Basically, it's crazy. He just wanted to. He was building like a Minecraft type game in the browser, and then he just was like super annoyed with how slow the dev server was, and so he just got distracted by wanting to fix it. And then like 3 weeks later, he built an initial Bun version,
Crazy.
which is crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, it's nuts.
which is so cool. And then he just basically, yeah, I love this. I spent much of that first year in a cramped apartment in Oakland just coding and tweeting about Bun. Like there was literally no motive. It wasn't like I'm going to go out and sell a company to Anthropic. He
Yeah.
just was like, I'm just going to build something that I think is really cool.
I think too what's cool is like he said he tweeted about it, It's like I'm sure back then he had 10 followers, whatever, whatever. But
Yeah.
like he just kept sharing about it and like just like yeah, you can build something in private and hide, but like you got to tweet about it and share it and like just put yourself out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't, yeah, I agree. Like, I don't know how many followers he had, but he just was like, hey, I'm just building this. And this is so
Yeah.
sick. Like, just this thing. I mean, this isn't even like that crazy of a tweet. I mean, now it's huge, right? But like, early benchmark from a new JavaScript bundler. And he was just building it. Like, this to a lot of people, this just like doesn't even mean anything, but he
Hmm.
just was like passionate about it and just like stuck with it. I mean, I feel like any project that we've had that has like actually gotten success started this way, where it's like
Yeah.
we either uh, were like super obsessed with a certain issue, or we just were like working on something and then we got frustrated by something. We had this problem that we started hyper obsessing about. And then we fixed it for ourselves. And then, sure enough, maybe not the whole world has the same problem, but like, there's a couple thousand people that also face the
Yeah.
same problem. And that's usually enough to like, get a following to make an impact, which is super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and by sharing too, you're also just like putting yourself out there where it is, it's like one person retweets it or one person comments about it that's has way more followers than you, like launches it, and like then you're sitting on like this whole new, like, whereas like if you didn't even share it, there's not, that's never going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And like, can you imagine if Jared didn't share Bun this early? If he was
Yeah.
just like, I'm not going to share it until it's perfect. I
Yes,
mean, I think
exactly.
that it's now like only on like 1.3 or something, like version
Yeah.
1.3. It's
Yeah,
crazy. Like it
exactly.
was in beta for so long. But he totally just built it in public, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's cool that he like did something that he's so passionate about. Another one that I think some people have seen is Paul from BrowserBase. He has this like super long thread on Twitter, but this is just like a little cropped version that I snagged earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he kind of like tells his whole story. It's super sick. The thing that stood out to me was that he basically just realized, like in all of his past work, that he just was like working with browser automation.
Yeah.
And he realized, like, I know more about browser automation than probably the normal person. And so he just started BrowserBase. I like this. Realize all my story arcs converge on headless browsers.
Yeah.
Like, not a lot of people are like that, but he made a whole business out of it, which is sick. I can't remember the tweet, but I remember him like posting at some point, and he said like, "Why did I start BrowserBase? It's because there was like no other company that I could have started."
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think is like such a, that's such a banger line, because that's kind of, I think Jared was kind of the same way with Bun. Like, he just got hyper obsessed with building a new, basically like rebuilding JavaScript, right? And
Yeah.
so like there's no other business that he could have done. Nothing,
Yeah.
no other project he could have done.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, and like I like if you've ever met, Paul, or like even seen any of his talks on YouTube or whatever, like you can just see like how passionate he is about browsers, and like I don't know, it's inspiring, and like it shows itself in the product where, browser base is the world class like solution to a headless browser. And so it's like it does translate, across, your passion translates into the product or into the project you're working on, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's like, it's very cool to be obsessed with something that you enjoy,
Yeah.
especially. And I feel like that's the best way to be well compensated for it, is just get super hyper obsessed about a problem and then just do it in order of magnitude better than someone else.
Yeah.
And people notice. Like, I think that's
Hmm.
what's cool. It's crazy because I always joke too, like back to posting on Twitter, not to throw shade on LinkedIn, but like it's pretty easy to get impressions on LinkedIn. But I
Yeah.
feel like 100 impressions on Twitter is worth like 10,000 on LinkedIn,
Hmm.
just like the value of the connections, because people are always like sharing things that they're passionate about, sharing things they're working on. And I feel like people are looking on Twitter more seriously than just like browsing LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a gold mine, and I feel like if you just contribute to the ecosystem, then like you can really find some success.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. There's another one. I only like pulled three examples, but there's another one that I think is so sick. It's the guy who made Better Off. This is literally just pulled from Grok. This is not sponsored by Grok. I just pulled it because I knew that it would have context because of Twitter. But who made Better Off? I think I follow this guy. He's super cool. Yeah, crazy story. Like, I mean, it's just such a cool story how like he just was fed up with the TypeScript authentication ecosystem. And it's like pretty bad. Like anyone that's been doing this for a while has, I mean, Nextauth like was super good. But the guy that maintained it, he's just busy. Like, don't blame him, kind of got big.
Yeah.
But this guy was like, I just want to fix this. And so he just started working on it in his bedroom
Yeah. Yeah.
in Ethiopia, right? Like, what excuse do we have?
Crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it just blew up, which is crazy. And it's so
Yeah.
good. Like, I don't know if you've used it, but it's so good. I mean, I know like we use it on some projects. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's like I think it is like another thing where it's like he just found what he found a problem, he became passionate about it, and then just built it, just built his own solution, and it just and then shared about it. Like I remember early days of him tweeting about it, like didn't get that a ton of traction. It was like, what is this supposed to be? I'm sure people were like, another Auth solution, this isn't going to work, whatever.
Yeah.
But like he knew it was going to work because of his passion for it, and because he knew that, it's like that's what he loved, and he knew there was a solution out there that wasn't there. and so he built it.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, totally. And like, I mean, probably the normal person would tell you like, don't make another auth library because there's like a million.
Yeah, yeah,
I also just love how bold like calling it better auth is.
yeah,
Like, I'm just gonna make auth better.
yeah,
I think the key here too is like you can't really do this stuff overnight. I think that the current narrative, especially on like, the grind culture that you see on LinkedIn, even on Twitter sometimes, of people that are like, I vibe coded a, ARR, MRR SaaS overnight.
yeah,
It's like this narrative that you can just like build value like overnight.
yeah,
But I think it's much more on like people have been grinding at it for months or years, and then suddenly they have overnight success, quote unquote overnight success.
yeah,
Paul from Browser Base has been building headless browsers for years, and then he
yeah,
finally found a need. Jared was working on Bun like what now for 5 years, and then like it's
yeah,
just paid off. Um, and then yeah, this guy for Better Off, like he worked on it for 6 months, the initial version for over 6 months. Like that's a
yeah,
long time. And obviously it wasn't like complete when he relaunched it, which is great, but like he's still working on it. So it's just really cool to see like these people that are grinding, they're like in the arena, they get something out there and then it just like keeps growing. And they're just like passionate about it, which is super sick. I
yeah,
think building like lasting value does take time, despite the narrative that people want to put out there, kind of like
yeah.
the grifting narrative, right? That you can do something overnight.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like honestly, like the passion is the like key here because it is like that's what's gonna like get you to keep working on it when you have 5 stars. That's what's gonna get you to keep working on when whoever says like this is a stupid idea or like the YouTube comment says this is dumb. So it's cool because if you build something you're passionate about, like you have the like engine and the like motivation to keep going where instead of just building whatever just to try to make money. And like I honestly think too, like one of my favorite examples of this is like Guillermo at Vercel. Like, he just like wanted to make it, simple and easy to use React and to just like write a command and have an amazing like code base set up ready to go. And like that turned into Vercel. It's just like it's pretty cool because I think like something that's almost underrated about this like passionate open source project area is it's actually like almost a perfect way to like validate a business model, which like is why Better Auth, Browser Base, Vercel, like they're all businesses now and they've raised money and they have like real revenue. And so it's like because you are building you're building something you're passionate about it, so you have resilience, motivation, and then two, you're building in public, which allows you to like get instant feedback and you have a feedback loop that's like almost unheard of across other business models unless you're like really trying to do that. And so like it is cool to see how this all works out. And Bun, like Bun raised a bunch of money and then it just sold now for 110 million or whatever. And so it's like it's cool because it's like I don't think again like you should go into it just to make money. I think you get burnt out, but like you should go into it to be passionate about it and like keep your doors open, because there will be things, there will, and even if it's not like we're gonna buy your company, it's like, do you want to work at Vercel? Do you want to work, it's like opportunities like just opportunities present themselves to you if you're being passionate about something, sharing it and like open sourcing it with the world.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like a lot of people, maybe this is like a pretty bold assumption, but I think most people out there aren't like really, really putting themselves out there and trying really hard. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that like if you do try really hard and you just put yourself out there over and over and over again, like it's something's going to work out because like
Yeah,
you actually are going to kind of like float to the top, like the people that keep treading water are going to stay afloat and then the rest aren't.
yeah,
It just takes time. And yeah, I think like eventually something works out, right? Like I mean, Twitter for one is like a echo chamber because there's a lot of like people that are doing really cool stuff,
yeah.
but the group is pretty small. Like it is a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
I think too, like open source is such a cool way to get feedback. Maybe this is like a whole discussion for another time, but like just the iteration cycle is so much faster if like so many
Yeah,
people can use it, and if it's like free and available, then people are willing to use it. I mean, you and I both like I know we have had experience of like doing market research like many years ago, and it's
mm-hmm.
crazy how these companies will pay like thousands and thousands of dollars to get people to try their product and then like, get feedback, whether it's like CPG or software or whatever. And it's
Yeah.
usually these larger companies. But for the most part, like if you do open source, people are just like willing to like mess around with it, which is so cool, right? So
Yeah.
like even if they're not paying customers, if you have an NPM package and you're getting like even something small, right? That's like 100 or maybe 500 downloads a week, like you've got 500, 100 to 500 people that are like using your product that are
Yeah.
probably willing to give feedback or just like contribute to it, right? And like shape the product, which
Yeah.
is so much cooler than having to pay for it. So much easier. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've seen like there's opportunities for that beyond just like, just open source. Like it's been crazy to see like all the acquisitions of open source software, and then it's just like it unlocks doors and opportunities for people, whether it's like you're looking for a new job, to be able to say like, here's this open source package that I have that's like getting 500 downloads a week. It's like, wow, that's, like that's going to put you ahead of it, like 99% of other developers who aren't doing that. So it's like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of opportunity that just comes from like trying things and putting yourself out there, which I guess is like what everybody's screaming at us to do, feels like. But
I know. Yeah, it's that whole thing where we know what we have to do. It's just hard to get yourself to do it.
yeah,
Put yourself out there, make content,
yeah,
ship code. It's like literally just the easy things, right? Like you
yeah, yeah,
don't become fit if you don't work out. And that's the same thing with being a developer and building something. Like you're not going to actually
yeah.
find success unless you get out there and do the work.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think maybe that's something we could talk about, in a later is like what are the practical ways of like how can I ship stuff like this? Like
Yeah. Yeah, that'd
I'm
be fun. We
working
could we could go
8
through
hours a
something.
day. How do I like make an open source thing? It's like
Yeah,
whereas like I think we've had like some good experience with that we could share, and maybe bring on somebody else too that could talk about that.
definitely. Yeah, I think to wrap up here, I think that's it. Just be obsessive about something that you enjoy and then something will work out.
Yeah.
That's really, it's as difficult and as simple as that.
Yeah.
Just find something you're passionate about and just don't give up.
Yeah. And then yeah, just
Yeah.
share it, like share your passion, and
Yeah.
yeah, you'll get some haters, but then like most of us like to see it. I love using Bun. I love using Better.
Yeah.
It's like if they didn't
And
do
browser
that,
base.
it would
All
suck.
of them
Yeah,
are so
exactly.
good,
So
right?
yeah, exactly. I use Vercel browser base, Bun, and Better Auth every day. So
Yeah.
it's
Same.
awesome. Yeah, sweet.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. See you next week.